Year 5 and welcome to your RE lesson for this week. So we're going to do a quick retrieval practice before I introduce our learning objective and our success criteria for today. So pause the video and have a think. Can you remember what the Hebrew name for this item of clothing worn by Jewish men on the crown of their head? So here's a picture, you can see them wearing it. Pause the video and see if you can write down the answer. What's the name for that piece of clothing that they're wearing? Okay, let's see if you got it right. Okay, so it is a kippur. Okay, does anyone remember why they wear it? Okay, you're right. It's to cover their head as a sign of respect. Obviously, that's the barrier between them and where their God is, and it's to show that level of respect for their God. So well done if you remember what that was called. I was going to pick another one for you, but I think some of the other ones were a little bit harder. So well done if you managed to remember that one. So we're going to be looking at the meaning of Jewish rituals, but more in terms of the context of the different types of rituals that people go through to join the Jewish community. So we're going to have to look at understanding what it means to belong to a community. So obviously you guys are part of the Brookvale community, you're part of the Brookvale Primary School community, so you're a large group of people that follow the same sort of beliefs and levels of respect for the other people around you. We're then going to look to understand the different forms of initiation into the Jewish community, so all the different rituals or celebrations that people have to go through in order to become part of the Jewish community. And then we're going to look at exploring the similarities and differences within other religions. Okay, so what I want you to do first is just pause the video and have a think. What does it mean to belong to a community? And how many communities do you think that you belong to? So pause the video and have a think. So we know that we belong to the Brookvale community, don't we? So you live within the Brookvale area, but our school is a community. And it's not just us in school that's part of the community, but it's all of your parents and your families and the local residents that form up that community of support that we all have. Now, I belong to the sports community because I play netball and I do athletics. So that for me is another community. It's a group of people who play the same sports as me, and we get involved with other teams and other sports people that come from different places, and we join in that one community because we all have that one thing in common. So be curious to see how many you manage to come up with. So Jewish people have a variety of ways of how they welcome people into their community. Now, when a baby's born, okay, they're given an English name, okay, or it could be any name based on the language that the parents speak, so their native language, but they're also given a Hebrew name as well. Now, boys have a special ceremony 8 days after they're born, okay, and this is called Brit Milah. Okay, now during this ceremony, the baby is circumcised to show that they're actually then a member of the Jewish community. And that's a ceremony that's done when they're a very teeny tiny little baby. Now, when these Jewish boys reach a specific age, at the age of 13, it's when they then consider to become adults. And obviously, we wouldn't consider ourselves as becoming adults until we're sort of between the ages of 16 and 18 years old. Now, this is when they're considered an adult within the Jewish community, and they become Bar Mitzvah, okay, which basically means they become a son of commandment, okay. Now, same thing happens with girls at the age of 12, but they become effectively a daughter of commandment. And at this time, it's customary to have a ceremony to mark the occasion. So it's almost like a ceremony to celebrate you becoming an adult and becoming a son or daughter of commandment and part of the Jewish community. Now, there's usually a special service after the main Shabbat worship on a Saturday morning. So that's the normal religious ceremony they go to pray every Saturday. And there'll also be a party that happens afterwards. Now, a boy's 13th birthday and a girl's 12th birthday are actually the biggest cause of celebration within Jewish families, okay? It's a big thing for them to be able to experience. Now, during the Bar Mitzvah ceremony, the boy is called to read from the Torah scroll. Okay, there's a picture of a boy that's holding it here. And you can actually see how large this scroll is. Now, we know that this is the religious book of the Jewish people. Okay, now they're actually expected to read it in Hebrew, and obviously it's prepared in advance. They've got the opportunity to be able to practice it and almost get a feel for the language and a feel for the stories. They don't make any mistakes on the day. Now, lots of people at the ceremony also give a special speech called a Devatora. Okay, now not all traditional communities within the Jewish faith actually celebrate the same types of traditions as the Bar Mitzvah. Okay, Now, some girls will read from the Torahs, but others just may give a talk instead. So it's almost like giving a speech. So depending on the society or the community that they're in, depends on how that ceremony is done, okay? Now, this picture is actually of a boy at his very first ceremony, or his first ceremony, and he's actually carrying the Torah. Now, only adults are allowed to do that. And that's why it's such an important celebration, because it is that celebration of becoming an adult within the Jewish community. And that's almost that sign, that symbol of becoming an adult within the Jewish faith. So it's effectively that entrance, that sort of party celebration into adulthood. Now, I can assure you though, when I was 13 years old, I don't think I behaved particularly like an adult, but obviously lots of different faiths do things in different ways. Now, at a bar mitzvah party, people give cards and presents just like you would do for a normal birthday party. But when it's some form of celebration that has another meaning to it, parents will often buy their children a special present, okay, to mark the occasion. A bit like if you have an 18th or a 21st birthday, those are two very penultimate birthdays as you grow up. By the time you start getting to 30, 40, 50 and moving onwards, they just become big birthdays because they're whole rounded numbers. But becoming 18 and 21 symbolises a certain status in society. So obviously an 18th birthday, you're officially legalised as an adult, and you're allowed to vote and do other things. And then you hit your 21st birthday, and that's when you are effectively entitled to all the laws, rights and regulations of being an adult. And it's usually been marked with a special present. Now, a bar or a bat mitzvah is a special time for parents because it almost marks the end of a responsibility, the end of a journey for them as parents, and it almost cuts off their religious responsibility over their children, okay? So as they grow up, anything that a child does that's wrong in God's eyes or is seen as a sin, the parents take on that responsibility, okay? That's their religious duty to protect their child in the eyes of their God. But obviously once the child then becomes an adult, at the age of 13 for boys and girls is 12, that responsibility is no longer there. So they're no longer responsible for any sins or crimes that their children then commit, because as an adult, that then becomes your responsibility. Same for us nowadays. You are legally considered under your parents' guardianship until you're 18 years old, when you're then classified as an adult. So if you were to commit a crime or do sin, you'd be charged differently in a court of law up until the age of your 18th birthday. Anything after that 18th birthday would no longer require parent control or parental guidance or anything like that. And it's the same when we think about medical things or being able to go on trips or something like that. You always have to have permission. So there's an element of control that the parents have and responsibilities that then's lost when they become of age. Now, I wonder if you can see any similarities or differences between these types of initiations and any other religions. Now, I know for Catholicism, they have sort of a baptism, and that's how you're brought into the Catholic faith or the Christian faith. The Catholics also have a ceremony called Holy Communion, and that's where you're brought into the family and you confess what your religion is and you confess your love to God. And then you go on to do something when you're older called confirmation, and that's when you 100% confirm your faith in the eyes of God and you're welcomed into the Catholic Church. Now, I wonder if you guys at home, if you have a different religion or a different upbringing or a community you might be part of, whether you can think of any specific initiations or ceremonies that might be celebrated as rituals within your faith. So as a task, which I'll be able to read when you send it back to me, I want you to jot down any other ideas that you might have about your faith or another faith that you know about, and what might be the same and different with regards to their religious ceremonies. And can you see any differences between the Jewish faith and a different faith? So just pause the video and see if you can jot down some ideas. Okay, well, your task for today, okay, based on what you've learned, is you're going to create an invitation to a bar mitzvah, but you're going to create an invitation for someone or a friend of yours who's non-Jewish, so they don't understand the Jewish faith or what a bar mitzvah is for. So you're going to need to explain what will happen at the ceremony and what they can expect from the celebrations. Now, you might need to go and do some of your own additional research, more than what's been included in our PowerPoint. So you need to think of what is a bar or a bat mitzvah. Okay, what might they expect as a guest that's coming to this celebration? What do they have to wear at this celebration? And do they have to specifically bring anything with them? Now, you're not going to be able to find all of that information. So this is an opportunity for you to go off and do some of your own research. So think about including all of the key information that you think they might need to know before attending the celebration, so that when they arrive, they are as prepared as possible. Okay. So go off and do some of your own research. I want you to try and create yourself that invitation for a non-Jewish friend, and remember to include all the relevant information that you need. Okay? Good luck, year 5.